Hello and welcome back to Planet Zoo, where I try to recreate the Antwerp Zoo in the game. In today's episode I'm not doing any animal habitats unfortunately, but instead we're going to recreate a really beautiful historical area of the zoo known as the Latteria and Flemish Garden. First off, we're starting with the Flemish Garden. The Flemish Garden is actually the most recent of the two and was added in 1937, so recent is relatively speaking. Before that, there was just a regular pond before they decided to turn this into a beautiful corner of the zoo. The Flemish Garden was laid out to fit it with the Neo-Renaissance style of the Latteria, which I will talk about later. I will show the reference picture that I used on screen right now. So not only was it for aesthetical purposes, but also for functional purposes. The Flemish Garden was actually used as a little vegetable garden, hence why it used symmetrical and geometrical shapes and why there's a little well in the middle, as you can see on the picture. More recently, the Flemish Garden lost its functional purpose and now it's just purely aesthetical, as you can see by the flowers instead of vegetables in the patches there. So right now I will leave you with a little bit of music. I tried to find music that would fit in with the Renaissance theme of this entire build, and you will hear me again when I talk about the history of the Latteria building itself. So I hope I see you there. Right now I started building the Latteria building. Latteria, or Melkerij in Dutch, was a dairy farm designed by Emil Tielens and constructed in 1898 in Flemish Neo-Renaissance style. Neo-Renaissance means it heavily draws inspiration from actual Renaissance architecture, which is heavily dominated by horizontal lines. The building also uses typical Flemish materials such as red bricks and sandstone. The history behind the dairy farm is beyond fascinating, as it was used as an actual dairy farm in the middle of the city. The decision to put the dairy farm there in the first place was inspired by the idea that the presence of cows would reduce the risk of catching tuberculosis for the neighboring monkeys. But the milk was not only meant for the animals of the zoo. Until 1934 you could actually buy milk produced by the cows at the zoo. There was also an option for home delivery. The cows grazed inside the zoo's borders on a patch of grass currently occupied by the lion enclosure. Milk was considered to be really high quality, but due to competition from regular dairy farms, the zoo had to abandon its distribution. If the zoo would do this again today, I think it would definitely fit in with the recent movement to produce and buy locally, and actually attract a lot of customers who don't care about paying the extra costs. But nowadays the building is used for expositions and educational activities. For those wondering why I used mud walls on the left there, don't worry, that was just a placeholder, and later on I'm going to replace it with red bricks. But in the meantime, let's talk a bit more about this whole Renaissance thing, because I think not many of you would associate the historical period with Flanders or the Low Countries. I think most of you think about Italy when hearing the Renaissance. Most of you probably picture cities like Florence with its many domes. The Renaissance wasn't limited to Italy. In the Low Countries, the Renaissance also took hold early on and inspired many artists. On screen you can see some pictures or some examples of the Flemish Renaissance painters, such as Van Eyck and Bruegel. On this picture you can see the Plantain Moretus printing museum, which is a building from around that same period. As you can see, there's a lot of similarities between or compared to the late 19th century Neo-Renaissance style. This style is also known as the Flemish Renaissance Revival and became really popular to showcase the local specificity of the region. A lot of 19th century city halls, castles and local government buildings would actually use this style, which makes it one of the most used styles throughout Belgium. As I mentioned earlier, I used a lot of red brick and sandstone, so here was one of those sandstone elements, and at this point I remembered this technique to basically rotate stuff so you can make circles. So I used that, switched out for a smaller asset there. But yeah, by remembering this technique I basically could replace those ugly mud walls and use bricks, so I'll do that later on, but here I'm actually first looking for a good balustrade to use. I wanted to keep the original form or shape, but I couldn't find it, so I just used the basic assets there. Before I actually switched out the mud walls for bricks, I first did this wall with the door in it. I really used these elements a lot with these bricks. I don't know how they are called, but I used them a lot. And basically I built this door. It had a window above it, so I put in this window. I really like that window. I used it a lot throughout this build. And then I arrived at the part of the building, or this tower, where the circle transforms into an octagon. So I used these brick pillars, I think they are called, for this octagon. Struggled a bit initially, but then I switched out the mud walls for the circular red bricks. You can see that those are all individual parts, but I think it doesn't really matter that much because I like the red brick texture more than I like the mud texture, and it fits in better with the overall texture of the building. But yeah, I continued this tower, and I think it turned out really nice in the end. I'll show it to you in more detail. But yeah, all these elements, there were a lot of elements, of course, because I rotated them all. Whenever I tried to move them, it was just a pain in the ass. I'm actually not going to show everything in this time or in this build because there was just too much footage. So I basically did this central building here with the tower on the left. As you can see here, I did that. As I said earlier, I used these same elements quite a lot here. And the part on the right of the building, which is like a little sitting area, I didn't do on camera, but I'll show that all in more detail when the time lapse actually is over. But yeah, right now I was a bit struggling with these sandstone trims because of the way they behave. Like you can't really line them up. Like if you have a piece on the left and on the right, you can't line them up so that the bits sticking out line up, as you can see there. So I was a bit hesitating how to go about that. In the end, I figured it out. I just settled on letting them not fit with each other. I think that's a bit more detail or charm, I don't know. And then I added in these windows, and I think at that point the tower was almost finished. I think I just needed a roof on there. Yep, a roof, and that was basically it for that tower. I really liked how it turned out. Initially I tried to find a more detailed roof or a roof that fit better in with the shape, but yeah, working with triangles in this game is like really hell. So I just put in this copper roof as usual. Sorry. And when that was done, I think I moved on back to the central part of the building. Yeah, I'm first working on some details here, like a little trim underneath the actual copper roof. It would be so great to have like octagonal roofs and stuff like that, because I think that is one of the major areas where the game is lacking, is like basic shapes other than squares, triangles, and circles, like hexagons and septagons and whatever pentagons is really lacking in this game. You only have squares, circles, and triangles. But yeah, here we are back in the center part of the building again. Putting in a door there, putting in some windows, these same trims I used all over and over again. But yeah, like all of these windows actually have like all these trims on them, which makes it sometimes a bit hard to to make something that looks nice. So over here I actually used like a pillar, limestone pillar, to make the trims line up on both sides. I think that was that fit in, but as a result you couldn't really do any interior behind that wall because there's like a giant pillar sticking out. So I only used that on this part because I wanted to do an interior on the bottom there. And then I put in some roofs. Over here I had a bit of an issue, like at which angle I should put this roof, because a lot of these Renaissance buildings have like these, like it's like a staircase, the shape of a staircase, like you can see that there. And right behind that then is the roof, but I was having some issues, like which size the staircase should be and stuff like that to line up with this, the 4-meter roofs and stuff like that. So yeah, you can see me here shuffling that around a bit and finally settling on this shape, I think. And then there's this, so I put in the roof. And I think, yeah, then there's this central part of the building I will work on next, I think. Oh no, first these like little bits sticking out, yeah. What is it? These priest bricks, I think they are called. Yeah, I really use them a lot as well in this build. Like if there's 3 materials I used a lot, then it was sandstone, red bricks, and these priest bricks. And then of course these trims, I use them all over the place. Yeah, then we moved on to this central part of the tower or the building, the dairy farm. And over here in the underneath this little overhang, there was like I think there's a sign there about one of the architects, if I'm not mistaken. Might even be about Emil Thielens, I don't know. Or it was about one of the directors, I don't know. There's a sign there. I didn't find any pictures, but I didn't really look for it. What it said on the sign. But yeah, I moved on to this. I think it's also like an octagon. Well, it starts out as like a square that is in a 45-degree angle compared to the rest, with a little flat edge on the corner there. Then it turns into an octagon. So yeah, this building really uses a lot of octagons and weird angles and stuff like that. It added an extra challenge, but I think it turned out really well in the end. And it gives the build overall more depth, I think. If I compare it to my other or the other buildings I already built, like those are really flat with pillars sticking out, but this is like literally an entire tower sticking out or something. Yeah, this was a really interesting part to build because I fiddled a lot with angles, and like this was at first at what was it, like 60 or 75 degree angles. I finally settled on 75 or 45, sorry. Yeah, there's a door here, and later on I will add like this little ramp to go up to the door. If you are like in a wheelchair or something, you can actually enter this building. Yeah, there's no path running there, but or no actual path, sorry. But I still built the ramp. It's not functional, but yeah, you'll see that when I show it in the game itself. Then I moved on to this upper part. There was this like little out sticking bit with a balcony on. I don't know how to describe it in English, or I don't even know how to describe it in Dutch, but yeah, it's like this bit sticking out with a little window that turned out really nicely, I think. But this is actually part of where the square building turns into an octagon. So I used these windows, and then I used like another set of windows. I think those fit in really nicely with each other to kind of reflect that change. And then I think I used this canopy. I think this is one of the better assets that I used in this to solve a problem with weird angled and shaped roofs. Yeah, as you can see there, the part where the canopy connects to the wall is the part where the square turns into an octagon. And then there's this like same stair formation thingy that's often seen in these kind of Renaissance builds in Flemish Renaissance builds. It's a really small detail, but it adds a lot. And then I think we are at the last part of this build, I should say, that I did on camera, which is just a small, or actually quite wide window here, like 3 windows, and then a door next to it. That's actually one of the entrances, I think, but not the main entrance that people in this game will actually use. I will show that in the actual game. But yeah, again, I used these sandstone bits here to hide a bit of the window edges. I think this turned out really well. I like there's a cellar there supposedly, I think, but yeah, anyway, like there's this door. Right now it's hanging in the air because there's a staircase running up to it, but I don't think I built that on camera. But yeah, let's go inside of the game and have a look at everything that I built. So now inside of the game, to have a look at our Flemish garden and the Latteria building that we built. As you can see, I did a whole lot of stuff off camera. It was going to turn out way too long, this video, if I recorded everything. So basically what I did was just continue off camera, but most of it was in the same style and used the same assets as I used in the things on camera. I'm really happy how it turned out. I spent a lot of time on this because there's like so many different angles and details in this building. Like if I compare to like this building, this is all straight lines, like some things that pop out and stuff like that. Like the most different shape in this building is right here with the winter garden, but Over here you have like circular towers, you have octagons, which do not have perfect sides in them, and then it turns into an octagon with perfect sides. Over here you have a square tower that goes into an octagon, and there's ivies on there. And you have all these small little windows and things that pop up. So yeah, it's a really different style than what I was used to. Also over here, this I built off camera, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. You can see there's actual people walking here and going in there, so I'll show the interior in a bit. But yeah, I used these vases, over here, as an element to give the wall a little bit more detail, and I think that turned out really well. Yeah, even from far you can see that it gives it that little bit extra detail that it needs. Also added like these ramps over here for people in a wheelchair. So yeah, that's really the details that make it. But of course the people always have to ruin it by walking through walls. Yeah, and overall this is like a really nice sitting area over here in the corner of the zoo. Let's now go into the interior of this building. Now, I only had one reference picture, and even then it's not really like accurate at all what I built here, because the space in the interior is just way too small for what it actually should be. Yeah, I added in a little milkshake shop here to fit in with the theme of milk and stuff. But yeah, as you can see, like there's 2 windows over here and there's 3 windows on the outside, so that's not right. And then there's this door here, which in the real building there's like a wooden box here to keep the wind from coming in if people enter in this little building. Then there's also a door here, which I didn't add, and it also has like this wooden box, I think, because there's like this is like a wall here, but I think this connects to this door, like there's a little walkway here, and there's some toilets here, but I don't know if that's actually what is in the actual thing. And also I had like no pictures of this view, so I just added a wall here with the milkshake thing. I think this goes down like into a stable area, but I'm not too sure. So, and I didn't want to add too much on the backside here because this is not decorated at all, because no one will ever see this. So I didn't add any details there, but on the rest of the building, of course, there's a lot of details. I now see that I missed something here. There should be some bars here. I might do that off camera again. But yeah, there should be some bars here because this is a door. We don't want people falling off. But yeah, about all these roofs, and this was really hard to do, because these roofs didn't have like regular shapes. I think that the easiest one and the one that turned out the best was this one. Then there's this one. Oh my god, I spent so much time on this one. It's not really perfect, as you can see, but like this isn't even a round shape in real life. It's like more triangles. Working with triangles in this game is like the worst thing you can imagine. So I just decided to make it circular and then add in the flat shapes on there. Yeah, this is one of the weirdest towers on this building. And there's this tower. It's a little bit more chunky than the real one, because I could only use like this black tower for the top of there, but it should be entirely black. I think that's one thing they should add, is like the option to recolor these copper roofs, because all of these are, I think, slate roofs in real life. Perhaps maybe except this one. But yeah, overall it's not really that bad that it isn't the right color. I might go back and change these roofs to be like the same thing as here. But yeah, the roofs aren't really the focus of this building. The focus should be on the horizontal neo-Renaissance lines. Like, you can really see how that fits in here with the garden as well. I think this is easily my favorite spot now in the zoo. So, next episode, what will we do? I will probably build the monkey building. There's like a, that goes around like this. It houses some small monkeys, but there's also an outside area which I think houses the mandrills and macaques. I'm not too sure about those two, but definitely one of those two. And then basically fill up this area because I think it turned out a little bit too big here. But we can just fill in rest space with trees and benches and stuff like that, so that's not a big worry. And then after that we can gradually move over to this side of the zoo. But we are really not that far into this zoo. Like if I'm gonna show a map of the zoo right now on screen and try to highlight the area which we have already built, and as you can see there's a lot more to build. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. But anyways, this video has gone on for far too long now. So if you like this, please consider giving it a like. And if you want to see more, consider subscribing. And I'll see you next time. Bye!